Okay, there's a switch here. Is Brother Sami here? Can start anytime now. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله ونحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as all praises belong to Him. We praise Him. We seek His help. We seek His forgiveness. We believe in Him and we put our trust in Him. And we seek refuge in Him from the evil inclinations of our own souls and from our own evil deeds. For whomsoever He guides, there is none to lead astray, and for whomsoever He lets stray, there is none to guide. And I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You need to have some coffee. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Azhar Zaidi, and I will be your host, inshallah. And we are here at the NBIC, and I would like to welcome you on behalf of NBIC. Those who are present here as well as those who are online, and I'm not so sure how many, but I'm sure there are a few. But before we get into it, I would like to acknowledge and thank the people that put the effort into putting this thing together. This is usually a masjid, and this is what it is. And there's a lot of people that have put in a lot of effort in setting things up. Almost everyone is a volunteer. We have people that stayed up till 2:30 in the morning to set this thing up and then came in first thing in the morning to continue working on it. And I'd like you to also acknowledge, but most importantly, what I'd like you to do is remember them in your dua. So the agenda for the presentation for the seminar will go through with the welcome message by Brother Sami Kadowich. He's one of those individuals who's not only an executive director here at the NBIC, but he was one of those who stayed up till 2:30 in the morning to making sure the setup is complete, and he's here with us today. And he will actually go through the introduction, then we'll have the recitation of the Quran, and I have my dear friend Imam Hamad Shibli from the Islamic Society of Central Jersey to give us spiritual advice, and then we'll go through 10 minutes of Ahsan Janjua about making a will or designating a will. We have Dr. Maqsood here. He's on his way, and we'll have him speak about medical advice. And then we'll get into the rest of the seminar, which is preparing for Hajj, part 1. We would like to break after that for Dhuhr and lunch. And at the time that we break for Dhuhr and lunch, what I'd like to do is I'd like to see if we can sit so that people who are going for Hajj in a particular program are together. It's good for you to know each other. I also have a complement of Dar es Salaam team here. You will hear some of them during the presentation, and I'd like them to actually sit with you as well and have discussions or get to know them. This is the beginning of the journey, inshallah. And then after lunch, we will continue with the presentation. There will be breaks in between. From an administrative perspective, the washrooms and place for wudu for both men and women are behind me. You just have to go around. And I think we'll end up praying in the gymnasium. We'll guide you when the time comes. So without any further delay, I would like to welcome Brother Sami Karavich. I'd like to express my gratitude for all that he has done over the years, including this year in hosting this seminar at the NBIC. Please, Brother Sami, come and say a few words. Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. You know, here at NBIC, New Brunswick Islamic Center, we do many programs and functions throughout the year. But truly, for me personally, and for many of the people who partake, this is one of the most joyous programs that we try to facilitate here at the center. And it is largely because, personally, it brings myself back to that point when I was preparing for my journey to the sacred house. And so it brings back all of those beautiful and fond memories. And so we thank you, and we thank Dar es Salaam for allowing us to be part of this. Not all of us who are here today have been privileged to be invited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to His blessed house. But those of us who have not been invited, the second best thing we can do is to serve those guests who have been invited. And so with that spirit, inshallah ta'ala, throughout the day today, it's so beautiful to see so many faces, not just from this area, but from other parts of the country. If there's anything we can do to help facilitate your experience here, what is required of you for the Hajj experience beyond what you are going to learn, inshallah ta'ala, of what you need for the Hajj journey. But if there's anything that we can do to assist you throughout your stay, please do not hesitate to ask. You are our guests, but we desire to serve you. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your Hajj, and that inshallah ta'ala that you will remember us fondly on your sacred rites as you perform them in your dua. Welcome, and we pray that Allah ta'ala make this a blessed day. Jazakallah khairun. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khairan. Barakallah fikum for those warmth and hospitality. Inshallah, it's a packed agenda. What I would like to do is bring or ask the Imam of NBIC, our dear friend Qari Abdul Basit, who also goes for Hajj with us and has been doing so for a number of years, to recite a few verses pertinent to Hajj, inshallah. Qari Abdul Basit, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحج أشهر معلومات فمن فرض فيهن الحج فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج وما تفعلوا من خير يعلمه الله وتزودوا فإن خير الزاد التقوى واتقون يا أولي الألباب ليس عليكم جناح أن تبتغوا فضلا من ربكم فإذا أفضتم من عرفات فاذكروا الله عند المشعر الحرام واذكروه كما هداكم وإن كنتم من قبله لمن الضالين صدق الله مولانا العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الأمين الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
صدق الله العظيم. Jazakallah khair. Proper introduction for Qari Abdul Basit would be that he is a graduate from the International Islamic School in King Faisal Masjid in Islamabad. He actually was a deputy imam there for a number of years before he came here, and has been the imam here for a number of years, and has been going with Dar es-Salam for a number of years. MashaAllah, a beautiful recitation, as well as the fact that he is fairly fluent in the Arabic language, which is helpful, alhamdulillah. The verses that we recited, part of that I will cover in terms of its meaning, and maybe Sheikh Hamad will cover it. But generally speaking, these are verses pertaining to Hajj in Surah Al-Baqarah. And what you do when you actually go there, in your rites and rituals, you actually implement those verses. That's what you do. You're living the Quran when you do this. I have the honor of asking Imam Hamad Shibli, who I have known for decades, I would say, at least 10 years or more, who has been with Dar es-Salaam and his from the Islamic Center of Central Jersey. And mashallah, he's going to go with us for Hajj again this year. It's an honor to be with him, and it's an honor to have him here at the NBIC. I have requested that he come in and say a few minutes, some spiritual advice that you can take with you that would be helpful to you in this sacred journey. So please welcome Imam Hamad Shibli.
Let me start from where Brother Azhar finished, to lift up our spirit by repeating together, if we can, the talbiyah. Are you ready? Say yes. We have two ways. Either I say it, you repeat after me, or we can say it together. Which one you like to go? Together or repeat? Let us repeat. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The only one deserve the word alhamd, praise, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we put salam and peace upon the soul of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and we say, Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik alayka ya Sayyidi ya Rasulallah. Then the people of Darus Salam deserve the word to say shukran to Hajj Mustafa, to his two sons, to his family, and to everybody who work with Darus Salam since 30 years ago. If you can read the little sign there to celebrate 30 years ago, and may Allah give them more. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Two words, one of them about, I want to take you 17 days ago, if I can. Can you mention the word Ramadan? Can you say Ramadan? What is Ramadan? It is Ramadan. Yes? In Ramadan, this year Ramadan was for 30 days. What we did in Ramadan? We fast, invite guests, give suhoor, recite the Quran Kareem, celebrate the day of Badr, celebrate the day of Fath Makkah, and we did celebrate the best day in Ramadan, the best night in Ramadan. What do we call that night? Do you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in the Quran in Surah Al-Qadr, خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ, one night better than what? 1,000 months. In the end of Ramadan, we come to the conclusion, and I want you to live with that spiritually and physically, as the brother Azhar said, because we are going to go in a journey longer than and more rewarded than the month of Ramadan. What Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said about the entire month of Ramadan, when you were participating in the month of Ramadan for all those time, alhamdulillah, Allah, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Man sama Ramadana imanan wahtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi. One of the purpose, Dar es Salaam, bringing us in this conference, taking us to Hajj this year, inshallah ta'ala, we are asking only for forgiveness for the previous sin and accumulate more hasanat, inshallah ta'ala. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, if you fast the month of Ramadan, if you make Qiyam Laylatul Qadr, only for the sake of Allah, imanan, to believe, and ihtisaban, all our previous sin will be forgiven. Please say Ameen, inshallah ta'ala. Before you celebrate the Eid al-Fitr, in the first day of Shawwal, all our sin is forgiven. Is that good for us every year to participate in Ramadan? Yes or no? MashaAllah. May Allah give you a long life to fast another Ramadan. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Turn the face or turn the page to the word Hajj. Did we ask ourselves why we are going to go to Hajj this year or the coming year? Or Dar es Salaam, Jazamullah Khair, started this kind of taking the Hajj for 30 years ago. Is there any reason behind it? I will delay the reason, inshallah ta'ala, for 1 second. In Hajj, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, You have to declare the Shahada. Is any Hajj can be accepted without Shahada? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Yes or no? In Hajj you do many salah. In Hajj you pay too much money to help the poor people there. In Hajj you do something, you don't do it, other places in the world, and that is one area to be in a mountain with couple million people, we call it in Arafat. In the day of Arafat, my request to all of you spiritually, connect your soul with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through what? Just through supplication, through dua. And I believe Dar es Salaam, before we enter the room, they give us many brochures to read it about the dua. And in Arafat, I want you to leave one thing on the mountain of Arafat before we go to Muzdalifah. Imam, what we are going to carry with us from here, in New Jersey, in United States, in Europe, and Canada, and Australia, and everywhere, in Mexico, everywhere, to go to drop it in Mount Arafat, I want to drop the same thing. Allah ordered Prophet Ibrahim to drop it, as the Fadilat Sheikh Abdul Basit recite the Quran Kareem, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذْ بَوَّأْنَا لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ مَكَانَ الْبَيْتِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed the place of the Hajj in the place of Mecca, the house of Allah, to Ibrahim. What was the first order Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Ibrahim to do? He did not ask him to make tawaf in the first order. Be careful. We spend too much time making tawaf. Say inshallah you will be able to do it. We spend too much time running between Safa and Marwa. Allah did not ask neither Hajar or Ibrahim or Ismail to run between Safa and Marwa, but he ordered one of them to do, inshallah ta'ala. He said, Allah tushrik bi shay'a. Can we repeat this verse? Allah, loudly please. Allah tushrik bi shay'a. Ya Ibrahim, Ya Muhammad, peace be upon you, all the Hajj will go there, leave our shirk. I'm not going to say our disbelief, but what we give more time to, more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, leave it in Makkah al-Mukarramah, inshallah, before you come back. And I wish and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we go to Mecca, spiritually and physically, let us come back to be a better person. And when we'll be in better shape, the other people will go there because they took us our model. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه يغفر لكم. Let us make one more talbiyah and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward Brother Azhar, reward Dar es Salaam, reward all the Imam, all the people serving us in Dar es Salaam, and may Allah reward you. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Imam Hamid Shibli. Barakallah fikum. These are being recorded as well, so if you have to go back to it. The idea here is to actually put these slides as well as the link to the recording in the Dar es Salaam forum, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So next up is Brother Ahsan Janjua from SSJ Law Group. He's here to speak a few minutes only about designating a will. As you know, one of the requirements strongly recommended is that you make a will before you depart on this journey. So he's going to touch on that subject, and of course, you'll have to work with him or any other person thereafter to see where you fit in getting your will designated. Jazakumullah khair. Brother Ahsan, please come on over and say a few words. Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. I got the green light to start, inshallah. I'm just going to give a quick overview on estates. A lot of people have questions about getting, things in order before they go on Hajj. So we spend a few minutes on just talking about the basics of a will, an estate plan here in the U.S. Just a quick overview of the agenda. We'll talk about why you want to have an estate plan, what probate is, essentially what happens when a person passes away and how their affairs are handled, your key consideration. Then also we'll touch a little bit on trust, and we'll try to go through that quickly. So first of all, why do you need an estate plan? It gives you control over how your affairs are handled after your death, and also during your lifetime if you're incapacitated or you're unavailable. Number one, for most people who are parents, their concern is guardianship of your children, who takes care of your children. And number two is your asset distribution, who gets what. The default state laws in the U.S. in most states is that it goes to your spouse, and if not your spouse, then to your children. Also, one of the main considerations is tax liability. There's a huge estate tax burden potentially in the United States, and there's a federal estate tax, like you pay federal income tax, and then there's also a state estate tax, like state income tax. So since we're in New Jersey, I didn't do my disclaimer. I always forget to do that. This is not meant to be specific legal advice for anybody, so just it's a general overview. Don't take it as legal advice because everyone's individual circumstances are different. I had it on the slide, but I forgot. Okay, so potential decrease in tax liability. I thought about that because I'm giving the example of New Jersey here, since we are in New Jersey. New Jersey has a limit of $675,000. So if you have assets over $675,000 upon your passing, when it's distributed, those assets are subject to tax over $675,000. Federally, the number is a lot higher. It's $5.5 million, but the tax is also a lot higher. If you have over $5.5 million in assets, the tax is 40%. Interestingly enough, last night, I don't know if any of the New Jersey residents have seen this gas tax increase. There's like a 23% surcharge that the state assembly has approved to add to our gas. One of the other bills that's included in that tax is to get rid of the estate tax. So that would be good from at least our perspective. Anyway, so for example, for a person living in New Jersey, if you have a house, some retirement accounts, stocks, savings, and personal effects, when you pass away, you would be potentially liable for over $25,000 just in estate tax. But if you plan, you can work around that. So what are the key elements to an estate plan, just so you're familiar with the lingo? One, you can grant authority during your lifetime. So when it comes to business or financial decisions, or even property decisions, you can give a power of attorney during your lifetime, and you should have a power of attorney in your estate as part of your estate plan. Also, healthcare, you can give control if you're incapacitated, who gets to make medical decisions on your behalf. That's one aspect of ownership or giving control during your life. A second aspect is how you own assets. So a lot of people may already know this, but if you own a house jointly with your spouse as husband and wife, it doesn't matter what your will says, it doesn't matter what anything else says, whoever lives longer gets 100% of the house. That's the same thing if you see any account that says something like joint tenancy or JNTB or something like that at the end of it between a husband and wife. That means no matter what anything else says, that account goes to the person who lives longer, essentially 100%. So each individual has 100% ownership in that asset. Also, you have like retirement accounts where you have beneficiaries designated on the accounts already. Those are also ways that you own assets. It's a contractual designation. So if your 401k says all of my retirement account goes to my spouse, that's who it's going to go to. The next thing is your last will and testament, and I'll touch on that a little bit. That comes into effect after your life. And then the last thing are trusts. You have revocable trusts. A lot of people hear a lot about revocable trusts, or sometimes, you hear credit shelter trusts. Those are very common, a very common estate planning tool. But the key there is that it's revocable. It can be changed. The second type of trust is an irrevocable trust, that you put the assets into the trust and it cannot be changed afterwards. Okay, so just quickly, the probate process. This slide is kind of busy. The reason I put it up here is I'm not up here to tell you that if you don't have a will, the government is going to take your kids and the government is going to take your money. That's not true. The default is the government is going to give your money to your spouse, and if your spouse isn't alive, then they want to give it to your kids. They may tax you at the highest possible amount, but they will, at the end of the day, get the assets to your children or your family. And same thing with guardianship. They don't want your kids. The state doesn't want your kids. But if there's any sort of a dispute as to who should be the rightful guardian of your children after you and your spouse pass away, that's where the state has to get involved, and it can be problematic. So if you have a will, you appoint the person who represents your estate. You decide how much that person is getting paid, if at all. You designate how your assets are going to be distributed, and you designate who's going to have guardianship over your children. So what are the key considerations when you're making a will? Number one is you want to identify who will be your executor. Executor meaning the person who represents your estate on your behalf after you pass away. So usually you'll name your spouse. If not your spouse, then you'll name, if you have adult children, you'll name your adult children. Or someone else locally. You want it to be someone who is local to you. You're not going to name someone internationally to come and file the paperwork in court once you pass away. That's a very important person. Number two, guardianship. Obviously, who's going to have guardianship over your children? Like I said, the state doesn't want your kids, but if the paternal grandparents and the maternal grandparents or uncles and aunts disagree about who should have the child, then the court has to step in and decide which house is best for that child. Of course, how do you want your assets distributed? The Islamic law considerations will come into play. Obviously, there's a difference between that and the Western system. Special needs beneficiaries. We talked about Islamic the law distribution. Parents have an automatic right of inheritance of 1/6. But if your parents are on any sort of government aid, Medicaid, or SSI, if they were to inherit from you in your will, they would automatically be disqualified for those benefits. So you have to be very careful. Or if you have a special needs child, you have to be very careful. Tax considerations, we talked about that a little bit. Burial requirements. Citizenship is a very important thing because if you are, we talked about the federal number at 5.5 million. If you are not a permanent resident in the United States, then that exemption goes down to $60,000. So anything above $60,000 in assets would be taxed at 40% from the federal government. So you have to be very careful about that. And also charitable giving. There's a lot of very interesting things you can do, to support charitable organizations that you can also benefit yourself from while planning your estate. So I'll go over quickly what are the elements of a will. A will is a very, very simple document to create, right? If you have no other options, or if you don't have time, a lot of states, like New Jersey, recognize even a holographic will, which means if you do it in your own handwriting and you sign it, and you leave it under, somewhere for your beneficiaries to find, that would be recognized. It's not the ideal thing because it's not obviously fully planned out, but if that's the best you can do, that's better than not having something. Number two, there's a lot of websites out there. I think there's even Islamic websites that will prepare wills for you. There's LegalZoom. There's a lot of websites out there. There's Google. You can find draft documents. It's not that complicated. The key, number one, is the person has to make it voluntarily and without pressure. So you can't be under duress while you're making the will. You have to be of sound mind while you're making the will. It must be written, like I said. If you are going to do it typed, you have to have two witnesses who are signing it in front of you. A beneficiary shouldn't be a witness on that will, and it must include the attestation clause. But if you're going to do it by writing, make sure you just identify who you are, identify where you're from, identify your family, identify who you want as your executor, who you want as the guardian for your children, and then how you want your assets to be distributed. The last thing I'll just touch on is trust very quickly. A lot of people are interested in trust because you can take an asset out of your estate. If you put an asset into trust, it is no longer a part of your estate. That goes to distribution, Islamic distribution laws, as well as tax considerations. And you can avoid the probate process. You can potentially save tax. You can protect your assets. There's privacy and durability in case you're incapacitated. And a trust can either be revocable or irrevocable, like I said. And also, I want to just close by saying that as part of one of the irrevocable trusts that you may want to look into more when we're thinking about the charitable giving that we do, think about charitable trusts. And learn a little bit about that when you're thinking about giving significant donations to the nonprofits that we support, because those vehicles allow you not only to support the nonprofits that you believe in your local masjid, but also to benefit from them during your life. Okay, so if you have any questions, I'm here. My partner Sammy is probably somewhere around here also to answer questions. He's also will be with you on Hajj. But if we can be of any help to answer questions, you can more than welcome to contact us. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Hassan. It's an important subject. A lot of people don't really think about it, so we decided to include it. At least you're informed, and then you can make your own personal decision. The slides, inshallah, will be available to you as we post it in the forum. And the contact number is here. And I think Brother Hassan might be hanging around here for a while. You can connect with him if you want, or you can contact him based on the information that he has provided. So the next speaker, inshallah, will be Dr. Maqsood Amjad, and this is an important topic, and the topic is called medical advice. And let me give you my experience as to what has transpired normally when we have this type of a topic. And we will have a Q&A session at the end of his presentation. And what we have done is we have put out some cards there, that you cue cards and pen. If you don't have it, I would rather that you take some of the cards. Can I have somebody here, Brother Waleed, in here to distribute some of the cards and pens? So that if you have any questions, I would rather that you write it and give it to us. We'll come and get it from you, and we'll address it. What I would like you to avoid is asking religious questions that will not be answered. This is really meant for a medical advice and not some fatwa on with respect to any of the fiqh aspect of Hajj. That's separate, and I'll cover that separately. So first of all, I want to appreciate and acknowledge in your presence and those online, this is something that Dr. Maqsood has been doing voluntarily every year. He's instrumental. He has been with us as a physician for Dar es Salaam. He's been for Hajj on his own as well, and this is something that he puts a lot of thought into giving you a possible advice on what to look for, not to look for, and he's made himself available even today to come in and speak to us. So we'll have the presentation followed by Q&A. Please welcome Dr. Maqsood. Okay, just...
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala Muhammadin wa alihi wa ashabihi wa azwajihi wa zurriyatihi ajma'in. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, congratulations to all of you for going on this very blessed journey, and I hope that you will keep myself, my family, and all the community in your du'as, inshallah. So we're going to get to the topic quickly. So as you know that millions of Muslims of all age groups, of various socioeconomic backgrounds, they gather within a very short 3 square kilometer area for several days, and it's very natural that the illness is spread. The Hajj and all the extra ibadat which everyone is very enthusiastic to do. So I'm going to divide today's talk into these topics: prevention, common illnesses at Hajj, and then care of the existing medical condition, and then we'll open for question and answers, inshallah. So in the prevention, as you know, the best prevention is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep you safe, keep you free of illnesses and in trials during the Hajj, so you can enjoy the Hajj. It is, in fact, Allah's mercy, and it's like a miracle that millions of people gather in such a short area, and in spite of that, the incidence of illnesses is very low, especially of any serious ones. And remember that when you're at Hajj, if any illness, any trial comes, it's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be patient and be thankful and do your best to, to prevent those things. In terms of vaccines, as you know, is one of the most preventative kind of treatment for many of the dangerous and serious illnesses. The meningitis vaccine is mandatory. Everyone should have a certificate to get that in order to enter the United Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and that will be required. In the adults, it's needed for every 5 years. So if you have done 2 years ago, you don't need it. You just have to produce that certificate. If you haven't, you should have it, and it's better to have it at least 2 to 4 weeks prior to your journey in order to get adequate. The vaccine is available from your doctor's offices. You have to make an appointment. Many of the insurance companies cover that, and others don't. If you have difficulty, you can always find a pharmacy who has these vaccines, and you can find a physician nearby, or if someone is living in this area, they can always contact us. We can always help them to get that, inshallah. The other vaccines which are I call them essentials, are the flu vaccine. The flu vaccine may or may not be available, but you have previous year's flu vaccine that should be good enough for the whole year. And the pneumonia vaccine, which is again recommended every 5 years, especially in those patients who have chronic illnesses like COPD or heart conditions or other diabetes, other chronic illnesses. The other recommended vaccine, which many times while you're traveling with the Darussalam is probably may not be as recommended, but if you're traveling alone, you tend to eat from the street vendors. It's important, especially in the summer season, to get hepatitis A vaccine and typhoid vaccine. Hepatitis A vaccine comes in two series of 2 shots at 0 month and then at 6 months. Even getting at 0 month, 1 shot gives you protection, so that should be good enough. The typhoid vaccine now comes in the form of pills. You can have these pills, 3 pills, and you're protected for the year. Hepatitis B vaccine is important because if you're getting your head shaved, sometimes if the instrument, the razors are not well cleaned, they can spread this kind of infection. So that's important that if you have hepatitis B vaccine, which is commonly all the kids now have it. In the adults, most of the employers, if you're especially in the health industry, they will require you to have it. So that's something you can consider. Now, the one important step in the prevention of disease is the hand washing. So make sure cold may have respiratory infections, so you end up in shaking hand. Also, in the handling of food that can happen. So make sure you wash hand before you eat. Make sure whenever you get chance, wash your hands. You can also carry hand sensitizers, non-perfumed, which you can use at your ease. You can keep in your pocket with you. Face masks are important for two reasons. If you have tendency to get infection, for example, you're diabetic, you have COPD, or you're prone to get infections for other medical reasons, it's better to use a mask, and that will protect you from the illnesses or droplets around you. On the other hand, if you're sick, and you're recommended to use masks because you can help others not to get those infections from you. So basically, you're taking care of your colleagues around you. Drink bottled water. Don't drink tap water apart from Zamzam water, because Allah has always put shifa in the Zamzam water, inshallah. So the common illnesses at Hajj. So the most common illness at the Hajj is, of course, respiratory infections. And it's always the case, and it's always probably going to be the case. In the context of this season, summer season, the heat exhaustion and heat stroke or heat-related illnesses are very relevant and common these days, and we're going to talk about that. Then the women issues or common issues, which they always ask questions about. Blisters and cracked heels, groin chafing, especially in the summer season, diarrhea, vomiting due to gastrointestinal infections, muscle cramps due to dehydration or lack of salts in the body, joint aches, back pains. These are common kind of illnesses which we see at the Hajj. So we're going to talk about the respiratory illnesses. Again, as we have mentioned before, people from all over the world bring different kind of germs, different kind of infection, and the unavoidable closeness of hundreds of thousands of Hujjaj facilitate the spread of these illnesses. Fatigue, lack of sleep, exhaustion from physically demanding rituals of Hajj, as well as our enthusiastic exertions from ibadah and devotion towards doing more things during the Hajj, lowers our immunity and resistance. So by naturally we become more susceptible to these infections. Of course, the acute respiratory illnesses are common during the Hajj. The flu-like epidemics sometimes become common. At this time, we complicated with bacterial infections. So if you have just common cold without any other significant symptoms, then you have to use preventive measures, drinking warm water, using honey, lime, or lemon with that, doing gargles, those kind of things. The prolonged kind of illness with purulent and pus secretions, fever, the facial pain, which signifies sinusitis, or isolated. The initial treatment of all these symptomatic illnesses is that you keep yourself well hydrated, you drink a lot of fluids. If you have fever, you can take Tylenol or Advil to reduce the pain or fever. Use gargles with saline water or other medicinal kind of sprays like chloroseptic. Use lozenges to keep your throats soothing, for this throat soothing. Drink hot water with honey and lime. And then if you have any of those symptoms of infection, you use the antibiotics. People who have COPD or asthma, they tend to get bronchospasm, so they should make sure they have very necessary. The flu is spread through the air by coughing or sneezing, and also by the hand contact. See, next one is the heat illnesses. So heat illnesses, you can consider them as a And then if it's not taken care of, it can lead to heat stroke, which can be a fatal problem. The heat exhaustion is caused by the dehydration, a loss of your body salts. And the most common signs of heat exhaustion. And it happens, and you will see that your body temperatures can increase than the normal, and you may be tachycardic, meaning your pulse rate may be high. So in this kind of situation, you have to take some steps very quickly. And there is a cartoon diagram there which basically tells you, if you are attending someone like that, bring their feet up, raise their feet. If you can expose certain areas of the body, you can expose them, put cold compresses on their body. And if you have a fan, you can use that, or you can use something as a hand fan and try to evaporate that. Basically, it's a method of lowering the temperature by method of evaporation, wetting the area and blowing the air so that the heat levels can go down. And these steps should be done, of course, you have to bring that person in a shady area or in an air-conditioned area where the temperatures are down. And this helps to stop that cascade of events, and you can avoid them progressing into the heat stroke. Now, actually, the slide tells you the treatment of the heat. Keep yourself well hydrated. Use salts instead of sweet drinks, because sweet drinks are hypotonic. They get rid of your sodium, and that's the main problem in the heat exhaustion and heat stroke, that your sodium goes down. Try to take some oral rehydration salts with you. Usually Dar es Salaam also has supply of them, but it's always good to have your own supply, because you can use them at will whenever you need to. If you have nothing available, use some salt, table salt in the water, and try to avoid the sweet drinks or the juices, because they tend to have you more diuresis, cause more urination and more dehydration in those cases. So most of the patients with heat exhaustion get better within half an hour or so, and within 24 hours they're back to their normal routine, and they can again participate in those activities with trying to minimize the exposure to the heat. If this condition does not get better and patients get more sick, then of course the staff will try to get you to a health center to get more intervention. So the heat stroke differs from heat exhaustion because here the body's ability to regulate temperature goes away. Which can range from hallucination, confusion, delirium to a coma. This is a medical emergency, and if the patients are not aggressively and quickly treated, it can be fatal. So in these situations, patients are taken to the health center. They are given IV fluids. They are taken into colder areas. Their cold water is thrown. Sometimes, in extreme cases, the body is immersed into a ice cold water, and also sometimes internal cooling is done by the gastric lavage and other methods. So best thing again is to avoid that, and in that transition when someone is really sick, this is what we need to do. We have to pour water on them, we have to use fan, we have to move them into the colder area, and we have to, if they are able to drink, we have to feed them water which is plain water or water with salt. So the question was sometimes asked, what salts are good? So if you can go on Google, Amazon.com, or any of the website, you can just type oral rehydrating. As I mentioned, if you have no access to these things, it doesn't mean that you cannot do anything, just use table salt in the water. Basically, you're trying to add more sodium, and low sodium is the problem where you get into those mental deteriorations. Again, preventive measures, we discussed a few of them. Don't be exposed to the direct sunlight. Rather use umbrella or other protective gadgets if available. Especially if you have kids with you, don't leave them unattended in unventilated vehicles or in a closed gatherings or congested area. Drink plenty of water. If possible, add salt, preferably Zamzam water. Keep close watch on the children because they tend not to follow those rules, those preventive measures, and you have to be their guide there. Other things you can avoid is that, if you're prone to that, don't walk for long periods. Try to use some sort of transport. If available, avoid the crowded area like you're doing tawaf. Try to go in the areas which are less crowded and less congested. And don't rush take your time, don't rush for your activities. If you are chronically ill, in times where there's less crowded, and there are always special times available for that purpose. Make sure that you rest and sleep enough, at least, to keep your immunity intact and able to handle these issues. So next is the blister, heel cracks, swollen feet. Can cause significant problem. They happen due to the point at the constant rubbing of the skin at the areas of constant pressure. And if you develop a blister, you're walking, it becomes a hassle. Simple things become a problem. So best thing is to avoid that. Wear some comfortable footwear. If you are planning to buy something new, buy it now and use it here. Don't use new footwear at the Hajj. Again, in those cases, try to rest your feet and don't go for longer walks. Use some sort of transport if needed. You can consider wearing socks if possible during that time. Some thin socks that then help to avoid the direct trauma. The blister, if they occur, use some a firm adhesive plaster or a band-aid on them to cover them to avoid their constant irritation. If they're larger blisters, then their fluid fill, you might need help to take the fluid out to drain it, because draining it will help to alleviate the pain and problems. The heel cracks, again, same way. They seems to be a very simple problem, but when you have to do tawaf, you have to do sa'i, it becomes very painful and difficult. So it's good to have preventive measures. Keep your feet moist. Try to, if there is a crack, try to use petroleum jelly. Use triple antibiotics or petroleum jelly to make that better. Now, make it happen. And especially those people who have kidney and heart problems, even when they're well controlled here, they may have those problems. So they have to think about that in advance. If you are a cardiac patient, you have kidney problems, and you tend to have your feet swelling, make sure you see your physician ahead of time, make sure you are under optimal control, and even over there you have to make sure that you keep your feet elevated, you minimize your walking at one stretch, you take rest, and if sometimes cardiac patient and those kidney disease patient may have to take diuretics, water pills, and they have to use that to minimize those complications. The groin chafing and the fungal infection, again, during the season of humidity and heat, those are common things. They happen due to constant irritation of the skin. Due to the constant irritation of the skin, for the fungal infections, they are peculiar. They come many times as a large areas of redness, desquamation of the skin, and you should have Lotrimin cream, which is over the counter handy, which you can apply on regular basis 2-3 times a day, and that can help to soothe it and treat it. For the chafing, which is just for the friction, your skin get irritated, you can use one of the emollient, or I put a picture of chamois butter that's available over the net. You can order that and have that handy, applying that once or twice a day, keep the skin moist and avoid this friction injury. So these are the reminders, some of the reminders before you embark on this January in terms of medical issues. If you have your dental checkup done at least 2 months before your departure or now, so that there is ample time if there is any treatment needed, or if there's any follow-up needed. If you wear glasses, bring along an extra pair of glasses, preferably with the plastic frame. The likelihood of glasses falling and getting broken are high, so always try to keep an extra pair of glasses. Also, if your glass, you should keep your eyeglass prescription with you, because if you don't have any access, at least you can go to a local optical shop and get a new pair. The majority of pilgrims are staying in the rooms with 4 to 10 persons per room. One of you may have habit of snoring. You may not know. That may become nuisance for the other roommates, and can be sometimes an issue. So if you have that condition, consult your doctor. There are devices, there are ways to control them that may be helpful for yourself, for the others. Again, avoid applying perfume with strong smells when you go to the mosque. These kind of things can sometimes elicit the migraines in other people, or they may be allergic. Their asthma can flare up. It doesn't mean you shouldn't put perfume, but use less in quantity and milder forms. The flatulence or passing of wind is an important cause of loss of wudu, and that can be a problem over there when you don't want to, you don't have time to go back and forth during the prayers for the wudu. Avoid and reduce the intake of those foods which you already know can contribute to these problems. If your problem is serious, you can consult your doctors. There are herbal and medicinal products available to help reduce the occurrence of this problem. The Hajj pilgrim involves a lot of walking. So if you don't go for daily walks, it may be something you may not be able to tolerate. So it's advisable that you start going out on small strolls, build this activity, especially the weather is hot here now, you will get acclimatization. You'll get used to that kind of heat. So make sure that you walk outside your home or in a park on regular basis from now onwards. That will help you to make things easier over there, especially in the tawaf, sa'i, and long walks, which are sometimes needed. So a common question is sometimes asked, what medication should I take So I have categorized them into different categories. So in terms of antibiotics, Z-Pak, zithromycin, is one of the common and effective and potent antibiotics. Make sure you have 1 or 2 courses of antibiotics with you. Even if you don't use them, I'm sure one of your colleagues will need that. It's available. You can have the antibiotics from Saudi Arabia also, from the Mecca and Medina. You can easily get it. No prescription is required. But still, in my experience, it's always easy if you have handy with you at least 2 courses of antibiotic. If there is any allergic reaction to Z-Pak, you cannot take it, Augmentin or Cipro or other antibiotics which are needed. Flagyl is usually used for the amoebic dysenteries and GI upsets. That's not common when you're going with the Dar es Salaam. It's not unusual. If you need it, you can get it from there, or if you want to take 1 course, you can take it. Analgesics, everyone gets headaches, body pains, muscle cramps, so it's always good to take one of the analgesic of your choice, either Tylenol or Advil, based on what works for you, what you can tolerate better. Sometimes people who are prone to muscle cramp, they can have some muscle relaxant with them that can become handy at times. Antidiarrheals, in my experience, if people are prone to diarrhea, Pepto-Bismol, you can use it on daily basis also, and it can help to prevent sometimes those kind of illnesses and diarrhea. Keep some Imodium with you in case you develop diarrhea. You take Imodium. If it's infectious kind, then Cipro and Flagyl are the antibiotics which are useful in those kind of illnesses. Some of the essential for people who get respiratory infections are just the alleviation of symptoms and make it less painful. Basically, you can have Mucinex, which help to reduce the phlegm, Tylenol cold, which sometimes help to alleviate the cold symptoms, Claritin, Zyrtec, which are antihistamines, which are non-sedative in general. You can keep some with you if you're especially prone to that. People who have asthma or COPD, they should keep their inhalers with them, cough drops, lozenges, chloroseptic throat spray. These all things become very handy if you're suffering from that and help you to cope with that in a better way. These are some of the other things you can consider. Lotrimin fungal cream, again available over the counter. Neosporin ointment or triple antibiotic ointment becomes handy. Vaseline, petroleum jelly, anti-chafing creams, which we mentioned before. Visine allergy drops if your eyes are prone to get symptomatic with the allergies. Bandage box, if you have traveling sickness, you can use Dramamine patch, which is again available over the counter. If you have issues of dyspepsia, indigestion, keep some Pepcid or Prilosec tablets. Airborne is a herbal combination of herbs and vitamin C. It's been shown to be effective in preventing these respiratory infections. So I advise most of the Hujjaj that they can keep a supply of airborne, keep them with you before you travel, before you're going in the plane. You can use it. You can use it even while you're there, or take vitamin C high doses. You can use that also. It helps to at least keep your immunity at a higher level during that time. I just put some picture of the oral rehydration salts because this question was sometimes asked. So again, you can go on the net and you can type in. You can order on the net, or I'm sure this is available in the pharmacy stores also. Keep at least a short supply with you. It will be helpful for you to keep yourself well hydrated. Then care of the existing medical conditions. So as many of the Hujjaj, they have other illnesses, diabetes, hypertension, asthma, arthritis, gout, or heart conditions. So make sure that before you go for Hajj, your sugar should be in optimal control. You should adhere to diabetic diet over there. Don't indulge into more sweets or heavy meals. You should be aware of your symptoms of low sugar. You should have your honey or glucagon emergency kit ready, handy, and your colleagues should know where that is. And make sure you have a good take care of your feet because they tend to get more infection. Even the small crack becomes an infection and can be quite bothersome there. If you have high blood pressure, make sure your control is optimal. Again, if there is tendency for your blood pressure to be not well controlled, make sure you have a device to check your blood pressure there. Try to make sure that you take low salt diet and make sure that you have good control of your fluid overload. If you are on diuretics, use them over there on regular basis. People with asthma, they should make sure that they take their inhalers with them. They should use them on regular basis to avoid any bronchospasms. Even if they get minor kind of infection, they should be more low threshold to treat them as soon as possible. Again, wearing a face mask can help them to avoid exposure to a lot of air droplets. So what are the essentials? Vaccine, meningitis vaccine is mandatory. Flu vaccine you must consider. Pneumonia vaccine is especially needed in patients who have chronic illnesses. Essential medications, I put 4 or 5 of them. Those are really needed. You should take a course of antibiotic, Tylenol, cough, cold medicine, Imodium, and anti-chafing cream. And then last is the topic which is a commonly asked question by our sisters. And basically the question revolves around how the periods can be delayed during that time when you're performing the rituals of the Hajj. This preparation is the most common and very effective preparation. You can write it down. You can ask your doctors to write prescription, or I have just found out that these are available. You can go on Amazon.com and these are available also. You take these pills at least 5 days before your periods and continue them until you desire that you should not have periods. You have to make sure that there are certain contraindication or certain things you have to avoid. So make sure none of you is pregnant at that time. When you're using these, make sure you don't have any history of blood clots because these medications can induce blood clots. And make sure that there's no history of breast cancer because these medications can induce or aggravate the breast cancer. So with that, I think I'm going to end. And the last message for everyone, if you're a smoker, I don't think there is any best time than this to make that resolution to stop smoking, which by all the criteria is injurious to you, to your health. It can cause cancer, heart disease, stroke. You can name anything. And I never found anything good about it, which I can say even that, there's any slight reason that you should be smoking. And remember that you are not only harming yourself, you're harming the others, and we are very clear on that. And do not throw yourself into destruction with your own hand. That's a Quranic statement, and I hope this is helpful. So I'm going to open it for the questions and answer to my best ability. All right, so first question is, should contact lenses be avoided when on Hajj? So if you are prone to get irritation of eyes, for example, allergies, and if there is a lot of dust, in those cases it can become an issue. In general, I think the kind of surroundings you live there, I haven't seen that dust is an issue. If your eyes don't have any prior history of getting inflamed with the allergies and stuff, then I think there's every reason you can use it. Now, if it becomes a problem over there, make sure, you, as I said, you should take your eyeglasses with you because you don't want to be left handicapped there. So keep your eyeglasses with you. You can use the contacts. So next question is, can I start Z-Pack as a prophylactic measure 2 days prior to going to Hajj? Answer is no. None of the doctor can ever, recommend that way. In this kind of situation, there are some situations where you can have prophylactic antibiotics, but this is not the situation. Reason for that is you may become more resistant to that antibiotic when you really have it, and it's not advisable that you take the Z-Pack like for 15 days or during the whole thing. That can create some side effects also. So you should take it only if you need it. Next question, what is the name of the anti-period medication on Amazon to avoid period? So it's basically norethistérone. This is the hormonal medication. The name I put was the Primaload. So it's there. That comes in 5 milligrams. You're supposed to take it 5 milligram 2 to 3 times. 2 times a day is good, and you continue that. You start it at least 3 definitely, but 5 days before that is better. And you continue that. After stopping it, the periods can come back in 3 to 5 days. And if during that time, if still you feel that there is any spotting or any period starting, you can increase the dose to 3 times a day. Next question, should we take prescriptions of our medicine or we can get it from the pharmacy? So being a doctor, it's advisable you take at least some supply of your own prescription. If possible, if they are not taking a lot of space, you can take a supply for the whole 2 weeks, but medications are in general available over there. They may come with different names, so make sure you have the generic name available, that what medication is that. Doctor said take the meningitis 2 to 4 weeks earlier to going Hajj, but for visa requirements we did 3 months ago. Do we need to take it again? No, you don't need to take it in. I mentioned the minimum time needed to develop that immunity is 2 to 4 weeks. If you're taken for 3 months ago, that's the best thing. You're protected for at least 5 years. If you need booster, it will be after 5 years. Next question is, any suggestion for persons taking immunosuppressives such as ifinalimab? So basically the immunosuppressive medications are used in a variety of diseases, in cancers, in rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, inflammatory bowel disease, many autoimmune diseases. So those medications lower your immunity, so you're more susceptible to infection. So again, it does not mean that you have to be on any prophylactic antibiotics, but your threshold should be low, that if you develop an infection, you should be quick to take the antibiotics, and you should be very optimal with your preventive measures, hand washing and other things we discussed. It's a similar question. Can I refill my prescription if I lose my medicine? Yes, you can take, if you have those names available, keep them in your phone, keep them in some handy, and you can take it to the pharmacy and they can give you. Make sure you have the generic name because the trade names can be sometimes different. Should we carry any over-the-counter medication from US, or are they available in Saudi Arabia? Again, Saudi Arabia Dar es Salaam team. Although Dar es Salaam carries some medications in cases of emergency, as I said, it's always advisable to keep it handy because sometimes when you need it, it may be a little hassle to get it at that time, but these are available in Saudi Arabia from the medical stores. Next question, any advice for people with thyroid issues taking Synthroid? So patients who are taking Synthroid, the only advice is they should make sure their control is optimal. It's a long-acting drug, and usually any changes does not come that fast. So I don't see any problem in that as long as you keep taking your thyroid medication. Next question is, when taking the anti-period medication, how can we assure that it's taken at the same time every day to avoid missing a period during flight, etc.? Personally, I don't think that you have to be that specific with the time, that it doesn't have to be every 12 hours or every 8 hours. You can divide that into approximate twice a day kind of dosing, and that you have to remember to take it. You can do alarms on your smartphone, when to take the medication. What over-the-counter medication is recommended? I don't understand this question. If someone is sitting here, send this question, they can stand up and ask. So I put a list earlier. The Tylenol or Advil, one of them should be there. You can take Imodium with you, then try to get anti-chafing, some kind of cream, and something to keep your feet moisturized, and some cough lozenges or oral rehydration salt. Those are the common things which should be taking. Mm-hmm. To avoid hepatitis in the event time of shaving the head, can I be able to use my own razor blade rather than using barber? Using your own razor. Okay, so I understand the question. So basically, if you're getting your head shaved in the Dar es Salaam, and even most of the outside barbers, they change blade, just like even in other countries, Pakistan, India, this is common practice now. I think people are much more aware. They do change blade, and it's clean. Should not be an issue. But if you're going on the road somewhere, then sometimes it can be skeptical, So make sure you don't do that. It's better to shave your own head rather than going on the streets and getting it done. Yeah. Next question is, do you think face mask is good to wear when it's already less oxygen around you because of millions of people around you? So, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not decrease the supply of oxygen when millions of people are there. Oxygen stays 21% in the air all the time. So, yes, in face mask, you can feel a little bothered that, because your face putting something in front of the nose. I don't think it's oxygen issue, but sometimes it can be more, in the heat, it may feel a little difficult. So oxygen will not be affected. So, question is, I suffer from vitiligo and must use sunscreen to avoid sunburn. Is it permissible during state of ihram? Some people claim use of Vaseline as a layer on the skin and wudu. So this is a religious kind of Sharia question.
But you can use unscented.
Yeah. But in general rule is that you can use unscented sunscreen or unscented Vaseline, they are okay. Is there a non-alcoholic, non-scented hand sanitizer that we can buy in US before leaving for Hajj? I can find the name. Yes, they are. I don't. It's on the form. Yeah, it's on the form also. You're given. I am blanking on the name, but they are available. That's it. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. And I put my email address there. If you have noted, if there is any question, it's not there. That's okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Masood. I hope that this was very useful information. The slides will be available as well. The questions, of course, will never end. I have received some questions that you sent but these are not questions related to medical advice, so I withheld, because some of it regarding wheelchairs and SIM chips are going to be covered later on, and some of it is to do with the fiqh of Hajj, and I will mention that as to how we're going to cover that. So thank you very much. Please do remember to pray for Dr. Masood. He does this strictly on voluntary. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and his family for the time and the effort that he gives into this thing. And remember him in your dua, inshallah. So we're now going to move on to, in the agenda, to preparing for Hajj. We're running about 5 minutes late. Those are the, so the people who are in the online, we acknowledge and appreciate that you are with us. Actually, we appreciate the fact that you came. Some of you probably drove for a few hours to get here on a Saturday, so I am really appreciated. This is a Hajj journey for which you're making the sacrifice, and I'm pretty sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for this. So write your questions on the notepads. We have these in the room, and for those who are online, you can send your questions to ask@darislam.com, and it'll be picked up at the appropriate time. And just a reminder that you should keep this place clean, because once we're gone, this is being used as a masjid. Some of the questions you're asking are fiqh questions. For example, what kind of shoes are required for women in the state of ihram, and things like can you wear socks for tawaf and sa'i, depending if it's a man asking or a woman asking, the answer is different. We have a session tomorrow. It is hosted by Qalam Institute. It's tomorrow, okay? We have these gentlemen, Mufti Hussein Kamani, Sheikh Abdul Nasir Jangda. They're hosting it. The link is there. The link was also sent to you in an email from Dar es Salaam. So this is the appropriate place for you to listen to the religious aspect of Hajj, which is the fiqh-related questions. You also have the Dar es Salaam forum, where you can answer these questions, ask these questions, and we have Dr. Muhammad Salah or others, for example, who are qualified to actually answer them. And you have plenty of time for the forum as well. So I encourage you to do that. That's tomorrow, and it's Central Time, so 11 a.m. Central Time, which is going to be 12 here. Okay. Now what I want to do is, this is the agenda for the presentation. We're going to take a break after a little bit into it. I want to go through with you as a reminder, start with the reminder first. I'm going to reset. I want to reset what you're thinking just for the moment. And then we'll continue on the logistical aspects of Hajj. So the agenda says basically we have organization and services. It's for you to actually not hear just only from me, but others as to how we actually provide the services. What are the different components of it? So that you feel comfortable that you're not just traveling with Dar es Salaam, you're traveling with a whole bunch of people that are experienced in providing these services. So not just listening to me. Important considerations. So we picked a few things that I think you should consider, and that's a few slides there. And we'll probably take a break somewhere around there, or even prior to that, and we'll have salah as well as lunch. And what we're doing for salah and lunch is that we're going to actually have you seated together. We'll actually have signs posted on the table as to which programs you're in, so you get to know each other. Then we'll continue with Hajj itinerary step by step. We'll walk you through departing from here, arriving there, Mecca, Medina, so forth. And then I have the last two things, which is, what are the things that I need to take with me or consider taking with me, and what are the do's and don'ts. So this is a suggestion or an advice from us. It is not simply a presentation that we sort of slapped together. Just to give you a bit of a background, I've been doing this for the last 25 years, alhamdulillah. And some of the folks you're going to meet have been doing it for many, many years. So this is a combination of our experience. We really want you to come back as a transformed person. We want you to really understand Hajj. I can say things to you, we can provide the information to you, but until you sit back and think and digest it, it sits in your heart, then you will understand what it takes to get to this journey. So we've actually gone through quite a bit to actually put this thing together. It's very comprehensive. Some of the things may not apply to you, but at least it's there so that when you see this or review it later on, you might see that it's helpful as a memory jogger, right? Etc. How many of you have heard about the forum, Hajj forum? You've seen the email? Most of you have registered? Okay, we'll talk about the forum and what it does for you, okay? So reminder is, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, remind, for indeed the reminder benefits the believers. That's the purpose of reminding here. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, and indeed the Quran is a reminder for the righteous. And so what I wanted to do is start off by saying, by asking you a question. And the question I'm asking you is, why are you going for Hajj? And the reason I'm asking this question, it's not logistics. I'm going to get there, but I want to reset something. The reason I'm asking you this question is because I get different answers over the years. And sometimes I get the answer like, well, my wife wants to go. So my question to the person would be, so then why are you going? Just to pick up her suitcase? So each individual person has to answer this question, why am I going for Hajj? Right? This is the purity of intention is absolutely a must. You have to really think through, why am I going for Hajj? Because without that, it won't sink in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says very clearly in the Quran that it is a duty owed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who are able to do so. And of course, وَأَتِّمُوا الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ, and do Allah Umrah and Hajj for who? Not as a company for your wife, but for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to know that you're doing this because it is not only a pillar of Islam, that you are fortunate that you have the ability to do so. Because he said it is for those who have the ability to do so. So you are fortunate that you have the ability to do so. And the second reason why you're fortunate is not because of the ability. I know people who have ability to do so, but it never ever occurs to them they should do so. So both combination has hit you guys here. You have the ability to do so, and you're inspired from within to go for Hajj. This is an invitation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He wants you to do this, and He's given you the ability, and has given you the inclination to actually undertake this journey. And as soon as you make that intention, of course, shaitan comes to you 10 ways to Sunday, telling you why you shouldn't go. My job, this, maybe I'm not good enough. I had one person call me and saying, can I postpone it because it's going to be hot? So I get all kinds of calls. So you have to go through and decide what are the criteria, but stay firm. Be among those in الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. This is where you have to you need that steadfastness after you have made the intention to perform Hajj. Go back and renew your intention as to why you're going there. Second is, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me the ability and I'm now going for Hajj. So what is the expected outcome? What do I want out of this thing? And the reason I'm asking this question is because a lot of people do acts of worship because it's mechanical. I have to do it. Right? So you need to know, what do you want out of it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked me to do it, so I'm done? Or no, you want something in return? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a hadith, that from one umrah to another is the expiation for what was in between, and Hajj Mabrur has no reward except what? Jannah. I don't know, how old are you? If I may ask you? 57. I'm 50, almost 57, almost 58, right? Boy, have I piled a bunch of sins. So not only He's given me the ability, He's inspired me to go on a journey after which I come back with a clean record. Is that a reason? Is that the desired outcome? Right? Second hadith. So you have to know that whatever you did, the one who is most gracious, most merciful, oft forgiven, has given you the opportunity to reset your record. I don't know what you'd pay for that. So you have to put it in mind, the purpose and the desired outcome. So the question is, okay, I know why I'm going, and I know what my desired outcome is. But is there something expected from us? This is the ayah of the Quran that Qari Abdul Basit started with. And this ayah of the Quran is very simple. It says, Al-Hajju ashhurun ma'lumat. The months of Hajj are well known. All right. Who can answer this question? What are the months of Hajj? I want one person to raise your hand and answer the question. Anybody? Come on. I like interactive. No, you don't qualify. Imam Ghulam Rasul, you're going with Dar es Salaam. As a group leader and Imam, you don't qualify. Yes, sir. What are the months of Hajj? MashaAllah. Can I, this gentleman get a gift, please, for me? MashaAllah. Okay. So now you know. There is an enticement for you to answer the questions, right? I like it interactive. Let's keep it a little bit informal. It's Shawwal, Zulqa'dah, and Dhul Hijjah. Great. Fantastic. So, Shawwal came right after Ramadan. So these are the months that are well known. Then he tells you something. He says, فَمَنْ فَرَضَ فِيهِنَّ الْحَجَّ فَلَا رَفَثَ وَلَا فُسُوقَ وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ. Three things. So whoever undertakes this journey cannot do these three things. What are those three things? There is no lewdness, there is no fusuq or committing sins, and boy oh boy, there is no arguments. وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ. Not even arguments. Right? And if I go backtrack a little bit, what's the last hadith says? The one who performs Hajj without speaking or committing indecency. That's what the hadith says. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also telling you, this related to this ayah, no lewdness, no committing sins, and no arguments during Hajj. He, the most gracious, has sent you the invitation to come to his house. Just like you would invite somebody to your house, you would expect certain behavior from that person, from the invited guest. And he is telling you what your code of conduct should be. That's what that's telling you. Make sure you don't do these things when you're coming visiting me. And you're talking to the one who is the most gracious. As a host, you will make sure that your guests are comfortable and you will provide for them. And here he is the most gracious, so you can expect anything from him, but he expects a certain code of conduct. And so the ayah continues to say, وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ يَعْلَمُهُ اللَّهُ. Whatever good you do, and that good is not defined, know that Allah is aware of it. The good does not necessarily mean, like people will come to me and they're exhausted, they'll say, I performed 15 tawafs today. I'm not so sure that is good. But I found a man who was lost and I took him to where he was supposed to be. Nothing to do with Dar es Salaam, somebody on the street. Or somebody who wanted to eat something and you had some food. Or somebody who was without slippers and you gave him slippers. There's no limit to it. If there is an opportunity for you to do good anywhere on this earth, left, right, and center, 24 hours a day, it's that place. And so he's reminding you, and whatever of good you do, remember, know that I'm aware. And then 80% plus questions that I get is about logistics. وَتَزَوَّدُوا. If you wish to take provision for the journey, brother, can I take this? Can I not take this? Is the bathroom going to be a hole in the ground? Is it going to be North American toilets? I get all those questions. Whatever provision you wish to take with you, you may do so for the journey. But what's the best provision you can take? فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ زَادِ تَقْوَى. And then he emphasizes it again, saying, وَاتَّقُونِي يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Have taqwa, O you who understand. Amazingly, this ayah itself tells you the code of conduct for Hajj. It also tells you why Hajj comes after Ramadan, because Ramadan is where you develop what? يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So you raise the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so you can undertake this journey, because the months of Hajj starts right after that. So you should have already started the journey when you started Ramadan. You should already have that elevated level of taqwa and consciousness. We all go to work every day, but you need to spend time, put plans together as to what's next. Now, this is mechanical versus something else. The reason I say what is needed from us is because questions that I get people asking me, okay, do I read this when I go for tawaf? Okay, I'm reading this thing, okay. Do I know what I'm reading? No, somebody told me to read this in Arabic. There are many books available like that. Or I did this. Did I do it the right way? You are so engrossed in the mechanical aspects that your heart is somewhere else. The best example I can draw is when I come home tired from work, and I will make my wudu and I will pray Isha Salah, for example. After saying my salam, it looks like I prayed, but I don't think my heart was in it. I just went through the mechanics of it. And a lot of people ask the questions that pertain to the mechanics of it. But that's not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking you. He's asking you for your heart. He's asking you to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why there is no prescribed dua when you go for tawaf. Say what you want. Pour your heart out. Say it in any language you want. Doesn't matter. You are in His presence, connect with Him. And to understand that, I quoted a verse which is pertaining to the sacrifice that you do for Hajj. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this in Surah Al-Hajj, that the meat or the flesh or the blood of the animal does not reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but what reaches Him is the piety of the heart. It's not the physical sacrifice. It's the piety of the heart. And the one that I like more even so to quote is by asking the question, so let me see if I can ask another question. Hajj is an act of worship that is rehearsing something to come. What are we rehearsing when we do Hajj? Anybody? It's a rehearsal. What are we rehearsing? Yes, sister. Day of Judgment. Sister, can you give it this, please, for me? Another one here. When you gather on the day of Arafat, you are neutralized as being equal. Same clothes, same two pieces of cloth. Doesn't matter which language you speak, doesn't matter which culture, doesn't matter which country you come from. You're gathered. And that particular time, which is after Zawal, you face the Qibla and you beg and plead Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for mercy, forgiveness, goodness of this dunya and the hereafter. The only difference between that gathering, which is a rehearsal, and the actual gathering of the Day of Judgment is that you cannot ask for forgiveness on the Day of Judgment. You can hope for His mercy, but you cannot ask for forgiveness. Here He has given you the opportunity to rehearse that Day of Judgment and seek His forgiveness. So how do you do that? Do you read from a prescription dua as to what you should ask for? Or the ayah that I like, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying about the Day of Judgment. He says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالُ وَلَا بَنُونَ. On that day, you will not benefit from your wealth nor from your children. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهِ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Except for the one who comes to me with a sound heart. So while this is not the Day of Judgment, while this is the rehearsal for the Day of Judgment, at least you can go there with a sound heart. No lewdness, no committing sins, no arguments, with full humility in ihram, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the best of your ability and pouring your heart out. That's what's required of you. So, this is what is needed from us. A lot of people say, so what is the key to success? How would you know that you'll be able to do this? Anybody? It requires what, sir? Patience? Faith and devotion. Great. Can you give him tasbih? What is the one thing that you should have with you that you developed that will actually cause you to be the one who can pour his heart out? Not the one who doesn't have time in his busy schedule, did not prepare for it. I've had those too. Whether I'm a professional guy, you're going to give me a book, right? That's a 14-hour flight, I'm going to read it on the plane. That type of a person will read it on the plane and will actually mechanically go through it. But your confirmation that comes in your heart that I've done something right doesn't happen. They come back to the same routine again. You know your Hajj is accepted when you come back and you cannot concentrate. You have difficulty going back to your job. You missed the place. You long for it. Then you know something happened over there that caused you to change. A lot of people tell me that you will require patience. That's the word I was looking for. The key to success is patience. My answer is the key to success or key to being patient is to have taqwa. Because you cannot be patient without taqwa, which is what you nurtured and developed in the month of Ramadan, which is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to you, وَاتَّقُونِ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. If you have taqwa, if you're conscious of Him in everything that you do, besides just the salah, then you will, at times of difficulty, understand the difficulty and have patience. And have forbearing of what you're going through. It's important to understand that. So you must have it, this consciousness in every intention and every action. It's very easy to blame. Very easy to say, this caused it, that caused it. You know, you guys didn't do a good job. My suitcase got lost, you know. I've seen over the last 25 years, people actually being tested and they didn't realize they're being tested and they lose it. So you need to prepare for it now, for that. Just visualize it. And one of the ways to prepare for it is not necessarily to read up about it, is to actually raise your hand to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this a successful journey for you. Because only He who has invited you will guide you even through difficulties over there. So your dua starts from now. Your preparation in your heart starts from now. We will give you materials, we'll give you DVDs, we'll give you everything else. But until you absorb it, internalize it, the more you internalize it, the better it is, because my answer to you is, you gain over there what you take with you here. Simple as that. Okay? Quickly moving on to the next subject. Any questions on this? I just wanted this to be, I'm not going to give you a manasik in such. I find that the spiritual aspect of Hajj is not so easy to understand. It's not the rites and rituals, it's understanding the reason behind the rites and rituals. Why is it that you do stoning? Does anybody know why we do stoning? Anybody? Okay. We do this, pardon me? Okay. Ibrahim alayhi salam threw the pebbles at the shaitan, and so we follow that custom. We follow that because it's now become an act of worship. But the story behind, yes? Pebbles at the shaitan. Takbir. MashaAllah. You have to give tasbih, MashaAllah. Okay. It was a testament of his faith. Understand that? It's not because shaitan is standing there waiting for you to throw things at him. You know, it was a testament of his faith. And if you know the story behind it, you will cry. Tears will come to you. It's just an amazing story. So know the story. When you know the story, then when you are there throwing the pebbles, you will understand why you're throwing the pebbles. It's very different when you know the story than it is to just go and throw 7 stones here and 7 stones there. Right? He had put down Ismail alayhi salam. Did you know this story, by the way? How many people know the story behind it? Subhanallah. Yeah. It's an amazing story behind it. The ayah in the Quran simply says, when he took Ismail out of the house, and he stopped and he said, "Oh my son, I have been commanded that I am to slaughter you. What do you say?" Why do you think he asked him? How old do you think Ismail alayhi salam was at that time? Anybody? Come on, there are lots of tasbeehs to give out. Yes, sister. How much? Okay, so according to one tradition is 8, according to another tradition he was 11 years old. Either case, he was too young. The sister deserves a tasbih over there in the very back, right? 11-year-old. Why would he ask an 11-year-old, what do you think? I have to do this. You think he's asking him because the son would say, "Dad, please don't do it, I'm too young"? No. He knew he has to do this. He had made up his mind that he has to do this. All he wanted to know whether he has to force it or will his son cooperate with him. Now, when you know that the purpose was to ask him to know whether he will cooperate with him, what was the answer from his son? Subhanallah, an 11-year-old? "Oh, my father, do as you're commanded." Can you imagine that? "For inshallah, you'll find me among the patient one." Subhanallah. But the riwayah says, he went on to say, Ismail alayhi salam, "Give my shirt to my mother, it'll be a source of comfort for her. And wrap me in your shirt. And make sure you put me face down, because perhaps if you look at me, you may not carry out the slaughter." Imagine the test. And then shaitan tries to exploit that. Say, "No, Allah is greater." So when Ibrahim alayhi salam put down Ismail alayhi salam, put his knee over his back, put the sword on his neck, he turned to the heavens. He wanted to know why he was doing it. But what does he do? He says, "Oh my Lord, if my love for Ismail displeases you," maybe that's why he's asking me to do it. "If my love for Ismail displeases you, forgive me." Imagine that. So if you're being tested like that and shaitan comes to tempt you and you pick up, say, "Go away," now it makes a difference when you're throwing the pebbles. You've overcome the temptation of shaitan. That's what you're doing. You can throw the pebbles here in the United States. When the shaitan is coming to you, you can virtually think, "I'm going to overcome him," knowing how strong his faith was. That he loved it so much that he made it an act of worship for us. So know the story behind. Know why Hajra ran between Safa and Marwa. Once you know that, then it makes a big difference when you're actually performing the rites. That's when you will pour your heart out. So I encourage you to do that. I can't teach you, I can talk about it, but until it sits in, you have to spend time doing it, inshallah. Okay. I'm going to go now next about how we actually serve you. We'll start off with you in the middle. You're the Haji. And we surround you with 2 types of people. Actually 3. Imam, group leader, and a ladies rep. Let me briefly explain the roles. The Imam's job is to provide you with religious guidance. The group leader's job is to provide you with logistical and administrative guidance. So no matter which program you're in, we will make groups within each program. We'll take about 45 of you and call it a group, give it a number. You will know that number, and we'll appoint somebody as a group leader to continue the administrative guidance, not only what you're just listening from me here, but as you move forward. The ladies rep is appointed as to 1 or 2 ladies that look after the issues of the ladies, because some of the women are not comfortable speaking to a group leader. They want to speak to a lady. So we'll have at least 1 or 2 ladies who are the ladies representatives for that particular program. You know, a group leader cannot walk into a woman's tent in Medina, for example. So we have these 3 folks that you're going to see on a regular basis. Is Brother Walid here? Brother Walid. Not here. Okay. We'll cover this later on. So, surrounding the Imam, so I have people in a particular program. We have 6 programs for Hajj this year. Each program will have a dedicated program manager and a dedicated operation manager. Within the program, you'll have group leaders for every group of 45. You getting a picture now? And then a ladies rep across the program, and then you have imams for streams, resident imams for the stream. If you're in 4A, there might be a bunch of groups, you'll have 1 or 2 imams. If you have 4B, another 1 or 2 imams. You're in 6A, another imam. So imams are not one to a group, but imam is to a dedicated program or program stream like 1A or 2A or so forth. Okay? And a program manager and an operation manager are 2 entities that manage that entire program. Let's see. Hold your questions. Hold the question. Brother Rami here? Please. Okay. So I have Brother Rami Sharaf, who's been with Dar es Salaam for a number of years, and he travels with us, has done so in the past, and he is going to be the program manager, inshallah, this year for program 4 and 5. And I'd rather have Brother Rami Sharaf speak for about a couple of minutes on the role of a program manager. Is the microphone there? That one there.
Oh, take it this one. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So as Brother Azhar started to review the structure of how we deliver the service to the Hajj, my responsibility as a program manager is to ultimately ensure, number 1, the safety of the Hajj, first and foremost. And number 2 is to deliver the highest level of service that Dar es Salaam wants to deliver to the Hajj. So the way that we're structured is we have group leaders. So all of you guys, I'm sure, know that you'll be split into your respective groups. A group can be anywhere in size between 40 and 50 Hajj, so typically the size of a bus, and you'll be assigned a group leader. And within a program, you'll have a certain number of groups. In program 4, I believe we have about 12 different groups, 12 different buses. That's the entire size of the program. So 12 group leaders, 1 group leader per bus, and all the group leaders report to a program manager. So my responsibility is to manage the group leaders and make sure that they're delivering the ultimate level of customer service to the Hajj.
Yes.
What I do as a program manager is I work with the operation to make sure that we're managing the transportation, we're managing the logistics, and we're managing the movements of the program. And I'm an escalation point to the group leaders. So if any of the Hajj experience any serious issues and that cannot be resolved by the group leader, I become an escalation point to the group leader to work on the issue, to resolve it, to deal with the operation and resolve any problems. So that's my role as a program manager. You'll see me move with you throughout the entire trip. You'll see me, inshallah, when you guys land at the airport. You'll see the group leaders there. You'll see me at the check-in counters when you check into the hotels. And when I say this, this applies to all the program managers. You'll see us on the flights or the buses when you move from one location to another. You'll see us move with you during the manasik. Basically, we're going to be with you every single step of the way. Again, any issues that you have should always be funneled through the group leader. And the group leaders, again, bring any issues of significance to us to be resolved with the operations team. But that's our role, So you'll be seeing a lot of major announcements come from the program managers. So whenever there's any movements or any announcements, or what time luggage collection is, or what time our flights are from Medina to Mecca, for example, we'll be making those announcements. And that's basically it in a nutshell. So a lot of work is done in the background. A lot of work has started from now. So we've already started to engage with the operations team and planning the trip and putting the teams together and stepping through the operation plans and going through the forums and answering questions and kind of gearing up for the trip, inshallah. So that's really the role of the program manager. I'll be here. I'll be in the back. So if anybody has any specific questions, whether program manager related, group leader related, or if there's anybody here in program 4, I'd love to meet you guys. That's pretty much it. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Rami. So you will be anxious to know, okay, so who is my group leader? I know that's an obvious next question. So before we depart, we will have at least one conference call where the program manager and the operation manager introduces the group leaders. You will receive from Dar es Salaam a group list. Will name the group leader and the group number, which will also be in your ID card, by the way. And you also have in the forum a program-specific questions and answer section that's specific to your program. And about a week or two before, I try to put in the forum an actual org chart that shows who the people are. So not all the information is available right now. It's just too many dynamics in here, but inshallah you will receive all of that. But no, the message from here is that you have people looking after you with a little bit of a hierarchy that ensures that you actually get the services that we promised you, and also that should things change, and as they do during Hajj, is dynamic, that we're there in person to actually try to mitigate those risks as much as we possibly can. So the program manager works in tandem with the operation manager, and what we're talking about when we use the term operation manager, if you think about all the things that happens, right? We have to look after you when you arrive. We have to look about things that goes on in the hotel, your transportation, whether it's for ziyarah or moving from Medina to Mecca, your luggage, which has been transferred, you've received the ebook. You can see we have specific time. Put your luggage out at this time. There's a whole plan behind it, right? Your passport, everybody worries about their passport, etc. And then the departure. So these are the different departments. These are not just words. There are people dedicated to each one of them. So and the program manager works with the operation manager who works with these departments in different places, separate from Medina, separate from Mecca, to make things happen so that you don't have to worry about these things. But there are a lot of people who will bite their nails because they want to worry about it. We cannot help those guys. But if you just let it go, just follow the instructions, you should be okay, inshallah. So of course, surrounding these departments are the hierarchy at the very top. We have somebody who does management of things that happen in Mecca. Mina is separate, Medina is separate, and Arafat is separate. So that's basically somebody in Medina looking after all of those operational aspects, luggage or passport or transportation in Medina, and there's somebody else in Mecca doing the same thing. Somebody else is doing Mina setup. So what I would like to do, if I may, ask Brother Muhammad Mustafa, who is the son of the owner Hajj Mustafa, future owner of Dar es Salaam, mashallah. He's been with us for a number of years. Very proud to see him actively participate in this. And I would love to have him speak a few words about what is Medina management really mean. Brother Muhammad, Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So my name is Muhammad Mustafa. The podium. Oh. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad Mustafa. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone who joined us today, and we appreciate your time and to learn more about our seminar on Hajj, inshallah. So regarding about management, like I said, there's 3 parts of management: Mecca, Medina, and then the manasik and Arafat. So I'll be, inshallah, in charge, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, the Medina part. Okay, and Medina, it's a little bit different. Mashallah, they did, for example, in Medina, they did a new terminal, airport terminal. At first it was an old airport, now it's a new terminal, something very nice, really nice, that you're going to like. Whoever chose the program that arrives Medina first. Okay, there's going to be another program that arrives Jeddah, so that's going to be someone else, and we'll be talking about that. Regarding in Medina, there's a new terminal. It's beautiful. It's a new management. There are some stuff that's behind the scenes that you not be able to see. For example, that when you arrive in Medina airport, you pass through customs, immigration, all that, you're going to see Saudi authorities and government collecting your passport. So don't be shy, don't be afraid. We're going to be there. I'll be there. I'll make sure that the Matawuf, who is at the, which is like part of the government authorities of the Ministry of Hajj, will be collecting passport. They'll be scanning and all that and doing paperwork. And then you're going to be collecting luggage and then get on the bus. Okay, you need to get on the bus. Don't worry about your passports and anything. Like I said, these are all behind the scenes that you're not going to, be able to know about. And while you're waiting, I'm going to finish the paperwork to make sure that the passports are safe and that it's going to the direct Matawaf office. So you need to worry about that. For example, here's another example, is that you might seem like, okay, so we're all in the buses, we're waiting to go to the hotels in Medina, everyone is there and all that, and we're still waiting, okay? These are stuff that we have to go with the government rules, that sometimes they do passport count. They have to make sure the visa. Okay, they do a lot of scanning, so even though you're going to see our Dar es Salaam representative waiting the bus, everyone's in the bus, we're not really delaying. We just have to wait to something called, and it's called the final release receipt. Okay, basically to make sure. Okay, so for example, they have 4 buses, okay, which is equivalent to, like, say, 200 people. They want to make sure they counted the passports, they counted the visas. There's a lot into it, okay. So we might seem like, okay, we're ready, we're in the bus, we're ready to go. The bus driver could just run, but we still have to wait with the Ministry of Hajj to give us the final approval. It might take up to 15 minutes, and it could take up to 3 hours. So that, I don't want you to think that we're slacking or anything like that. We have to make sure that we go follow the rules. I got previous with the customers last year saying, okay, well, brother, we need to leave because we need to go to the Masjid Nabawi. Salat al-Isha is in about 10 minutes. Trust me, I would like you to go and send the buses right away, but we have to wait for the government. We're in their land now, their rules and all that. So our expertise is that we try to finalize this as quickly as possible. We have a whole team at the airport. It'll be me and other teams. So we make sure that everyone in the staff is taking care of that and trying to make it as quickly as possible. That's regarding the airport. Buses, for example. That, like I said, these are just something that are behind the scenes. We promise you private air-conditioned buses and all that, which we do. But the thing is that when you arrive at the airport, okay, we'll have to use the government buses. Okay, it's only a one way basically from Medina Airport to the hotel. Once you arrive at the hotel, and then the next day and the day after, and the Mazarat and all that, you will see your Dar es Salaam buses. But don't be surprised if you arrive in Medina Airport and then you see really, not fancy buses, maybe an older bus and all that. These are government buses. And of course, while I'm there, I'm going to explain that there again to you. Okay, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that it will be government buses. And like I said, these are the stuff behind the scenes. And then, of course, we get to hotels, and then we have people to take care of you regarding the check-in and all that. My role is to make sure that all program managers, all the group leaders are taking care of you. Check-in, security, safety, making sure that you fulfill your ibadah, the Hajj rituals, and then departing from Medina to Mecca. So that'll be my role. Maybe you won't be able to see me a lot because I'll be between the airport and at the passport office and all that. You'll get to see your program managers more and group leaders, but feel free, if you see me, say hi and all that. And if you have any concerns and complaints, you could reach your group leader, program manager. If you see me, I have no problem to take your complaints. But inshallah, we'll try to make it as smooth as possible, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Thank you, brothers.
Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. So this is a topic by itself, by the way. He just covered the airport. Didn't talk about the 6,000 pieces of luggage and how that is managed. That's another story altogether. And how the passport moves with you, though you don't see it, but it moves with you. Somebody does the magic behind it, right? So that's why I wanted to let you know that, it's not what you see, it's also what goes on in the background that's part and parcel of the services provided by Dar es Salaam. Now, there is a program saying, I need buses. Another program says, I need buses. One program's luggage is moving to another hotel. He needs a truck for it. Another program is managing his own. So how do we manage all of that? We have something called a Hajj Operations Center that coordinates common services. And we have, mashallah, it's a person who manages the operations here. Sister Ibtisam, I don't think she's here, but she is brilliant, just on top of it. So how many you need, how many trucks you need, when you need it, etc. So Operations Center is used for coordinating when common operations across program. Is also used sometimes to communicate with you. So when you have a mass messaging going out, I am in program 2, I want my Hujjaj to know this, I'll call Operations Center to send the messages out, etc. So the purpose of this is very simple. If there's any one thing that you should take away from this thing is that this transaction that we did is on a trust basis. You have to trust us. The reason I'm saying it is because all of us are sincere in providing these services. We're not saying something we don't want to do, but we do come across circumstances when services are not provided or provided to substandard, and all of a sudden shaitan says, you know about the jidal, forget it, argue with this guy now, right? So this is where you need to watch out. We handle the situation when it's dynamic, but our goal is to continue to provide the services. The purpose in doing the logistical aspect of it so that you get the most out of the acts of worship. Don't have to worry about these things. The purpose of the ebook is to tell you now, right? When you have to put out the luggage. Not that, brother, you didn't tell me, I was in the haram. I didn't know. Didn't want to do that. So these things are done so that you can plan your time when you want to be in the haram and take the most out of this journey. We are sincere, but we need your cooperation. We need your support. The bus cannot move. The 2 people decided to take off somewhere else. I gotta wait. You're gonna detain everybody else. Don't do that, right? So you have to play your part in it. It's very important. That's not a small thing to say. We have never left anybody behind in case of emergency. If there's an emergency, people ask that question, so I want to preempt that. We had, 2012 Hurricane Sandy? You remember that? How many remember that, Hurricane Sandy? 12, was it? That was the last day of Hajj, by the way. We were all coming in, taking some people to Jeddah Airport to find out that JFK in Washington, Dulles is down. No flights coming in. All flights canceled. So we didn't do like other operators saying, you signed this T's and C's, an act of God. You're at the airport, Assalamu alaikum. We didn't do that. We brought you back in the hotel. We kept you in the 5-star hotel in Jeddah. We gave you meals 2 nights in a row until the flights resumed. And when the flights resumed, we took the largest chunk of seats you can ever think of. I think we took about 290 seats in that flight and had special counters opened up to make sure that you were looked after, not thrown out in the street. We don't do that. That Islam stands behind it. As such, the owner stands behind it. So we are sincere in our services. Just trust us, cooperate with us, and make the maximum out of the spiritual aspect of this journey, inshallah. Now, I want to start off with, what are the things you're going to get from us? The adhan is in 5 minutes, I believe, right? 5 minutes. Qari Basit, Abdul Basit told me 110. 110. Brother Samin, thank you so much. I'll take 5 more minutes, inshallah, and then we'll take a break prior to that. So what would you receive from us? I'm going to give you the list of things. Then after the break, I will cover them in pictures. I will show you the actual thing itself in graphic format. So you're going to get from us your passport back, inshallah, with the Hajj visa. Hasn't started yet. The process hasn't started yet. The pre-work has started, but the consulate is not open yet for that purpose. The passport will have a label on the back of it. Don't remove it. That's the message. Number 2, all tickets are e-tickets. You will make sure that you read them. Make sure you understand your ticket. Don't just take it for granted. Read it, understand it. Hajj draft. You all paid $300 for the Hajj draft. Used to be an actual physical draft stapled to your passport. It changed. It's now barcode labeled in one of the pages of your passport. Don't remove it. Okay? Your proof of immunization for meningitis, you will find them stapled to the back of your passport. Leave it there. But know that you have to take that with you. Sometimes when you land over there, they say, show me the proof. Even though it's required here, in the consulate for them to give you the visa, but they again check it over there. So take it with you. That's the message here. Itinerary and general information, that was given to you in the ebook. How many people have read the ebook? I want to punish those who haven't. See how many hands go up. A lot of work went into it. No, subhanAllah. Read the ebook. Now, of course, we did it on purpose. We published the ebook in the forum because forum is a great place to be. So we were forcing you to go to the forum. It's in the forum. We didn't send you an email with the ebook attached. We send you an email with the link to the forum. So go onto the forum. I am the administrator of the forum. And when you get to the forum, make sure that you use a user ID, email address that I could recognize. That's something that you registered with, right? So ebook is there. And then we're not going to give you DVDs. We're not going to give you physical DVDs. There are some here. The reason we're not going to give you the physical DVDs because it's already in the ebook. It's already available on YouTube. So go watch it at your leisure rather than taking it home physically. As far as the personal ID card and luggage tags are concerned, we'll give you that and we'll show you copies of what it looks like. And the dua book will give you a book of du'as, general du'as, including the azkar for the morning after Fajr and the one after Maghrib, so forth. And the last thing is, Ihram, anybody in program 3 and program 1C should have received the Ihram already because they're going to Mecca first. They have to be in the state of Ihram before they land. But anybody who is in a program that starts in Medina will receive the Ihram in Medina. Okay? And the last thing is, the favorite subject is one of the questions I have. SIM card will to be determined, and I will give you a separate presentation on what's happening with the SIM card and why it says to be determined later on, inshallah. Okay? So these are the things we're going to give you. We're going to take a break. We're going to actually have the adhan and the salah, and after that we'll have a lunch. Yeah. Salah will be in the back, the gymnasium, and then we'll have lunch. You will go to the table, you will see a tent card on the table that already says which program, so pick a table which is for your program so you get to know others in your program, inshallah. Pardon me? Yeah. So the buffets are set up. The men here, ladies are in the back. And if you have to make wudu, the bathroom is in the back as well. So we will get back together at 2:20, inshallah. So jazakumullah khair. We'll continue at 2:20. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Qari sahab? So folks, those who are online, we're breaking for Dhuhr. We're going to have lunch, and then we'll continue, inshallah, at 2:20. So you can join us at 2:20, inshallah. There is no